There it
One.
is. There's. Oh, hold on.
Welcome to SEC Fan Talk, second season, episode number 2. Is that right? Last week we brought it in, talked a little bit about schedules, a little bit about rankings, who did well in the offseason of getting in some new recruits. This week we're going to go in a little deep. We got the fellas here, of course, Mr. Brad Rush, Mr. Tito, otherwise known as Luke Alsop, our producer Nico, and special guest today, Coach Michael Camp. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Starting
Actually,
off
I
with
think
go ahead.
I think we lost Tito.
Did we lose him?
Oh, he's back.
Tito is back.
Tito's rolling back in.
He's got some technical difficulties, but
He may have decided to get on the app.
yep, he might have done that.
May have decided. Guys, a little bit of news. We are a couple days into fall practices, and we won't go around and talk about each one. Each week, we're going to kind of pick out a different team. This week, it's going to be Alabama because why not start with SEC's finest, I guess you would say. 2 days into their full practices, Nick Saban says they are not looking good. Question, can you ever please Nick Saban? Can it be done? I mean, the man has tons of money, highest paid coach, right? Tons of rings, and I don't think you can make him happy. But he says they're not looking good, and part of that, of course, is there's a lot of new faces, and people are still trying to figure out how to work with each other. They had Mr. A-Rod come in and give a speech. I believe it was yesterday, and basically it was about how the Yankees would have an amazing year and win the championship, and then have to come back and fight it and not necessarily win it the next year. So hopefully he pumped up their guys, and we'll see what Alabama comes out with.
I feel like that's just an old man trying to set expectations low for he knows is gonna just meet the expectations, which are always extremely high.
When it involves him, they are
Yes.
most definitely extremely high. In other news, Tennessee's camp, get going. This is the last one we'll touch at, and I think they played dodgeball today.
That sounds about right.
I only
Setting
pick,
expectations.
I'll, I only pick on new coach Josh Heupel because that was the first video that that went out viral when he first came, is them playing dodgeball, and I get it. It's a team thing, build team spirit and character, and so I thought I'd take a little jab at him.
Who got paid, or like the second string middle linebacker?
Oh,
Yeah.
already.
I mean, it's just a question, right?
Already.
The second string middle linebacker did.
I mean, I'm sure every Alabama fan his whole life, just like everybody else from the state of Georgia, that's an Alabama fan.
The
I'm just saying.
So, do I want to just go ahead and jump into that part of the discussion that we have planned, or I think we would what we have scheduled here first is the college football playoff expansion. First off, does it need to be expanded? And I know this is a topic everyone's got. It's on every sports show. It's on every NCAA football podcast. Everyone's talking about it, and everyone is given multiple scenarios of how you do it. The first question is, do you?
For me, that's really hard. That I struggle with this is because if you go back and look at the 5th best team in any year, are they a national title contender? Are they national championship worthy? And typically the answer is no.
Correct.
The one area where I kind of struggle with this is where you get a team like Boise State who comes in and is undefeated. And one of the best things football has been and continues to be that their regular season, right? And in a situation like that where they now probably wouldn't get invited to the top 4 undefeated, what game mattered?
Right.
Which makes none of them matter. So and the issue that we run into with teams like, there's no way an LSU is going to schedule a Boise State, right? They're too dangerous of an opponent to look
For the one game.
for the one game,
Exactly.
right? It's different when it's a big name team and their schools are scheduling these lower level competition, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, come on. I mean, schedule better competition when sometimes your conference isn't good enough. So you've got to go out and better competition. But when it's a team like that, who, no matter what they do, they're not going to get a better competition to come with them, right? So I'm kind of torn. For me, mostly though, I would lean towards it doesn't need to. College football, so if they get more bowl games that matter, I'm going to watch. So I'm in on it, and it does give some of those an opportunity where you're like, look, at least if they get blown out by Alabama in the first game, they can say, well, we had the opportunity and our regular season did matter at that point because we won every game. Why didn't we get a chance to play?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one, and I agree with you. It's you have someone who dominated the Mountain West or dominated another small division and is on a hot streak, and they come in and let's say they beat they beat Alabama in that first round play. Yeah, but they didn't have anywhere near the schedule that an SEC team, any SEC team, has week in and week out. And that's where I feel for them, because part of me says it is unfair to the smaller conferences, and everyone already knows how I feel about some of the other large name conferences, but for the smaller ones, I get it, and I don't know if there's some sort of round robin style tournament, whatever, smaller or their bowl games do matter, and they let in one other, not expanding it to 8. But just maybe adding an extra team or two or an extra week or two to it, just to see how it comes out. But as a full-on SEC fan, my answer is no one has our schedules. No one has the toughness of our schedules. Not even the other big name. The ACC most certainly does not. Big 10, Big 12, no, and then, of course, who cares about the West Coast?
The left coast.
Yes.
I mean, if you're asking me, it's like open. It's like letting the genie out of the bottle. If you upgrade it to 8, then 8's not enough, because it's. I mean, obviously we're in a money race here. And then if 8's not enough, and we all know, like he said, anybody past the 4th best team in the nation, do they really have a chance? No. I mean, I know you still have to play the game, right? I mean, that's a coach talking. You got. I mean, after the 4, I mean, in my humble opinion, the best thing for the SEC would be to and Virginia Tech and say, peace out, NCAA. I mean, we're good, right? I mean, let us just do what we want to do. Y'all have your national champion between every other school in the nation. The SEC will just be its own entity. They'll handle their own money, their own TV rights, everything, and say, peace out, NCAA. We don't need you. Obviously, the SEC knows already they don't really need the NCAA. It's just for bragging rights. Everybody knows in the past, and for the NCAA or for the SEC championship game, if it's Alabama, Florida, and neither one of them are really in the running for the championship, they don't give a dang about the bowl game that they're playing. Back before the college playoff, when they were playing in the BCS game, the bowl, but it was a national championship, they didn't really care.
So I agree with that, but I would caution against it. What you would end we have with boxing, where there's 7 different leagues and different areas, and every champion, and now you have no world champion. And one of the things that we have right now that unified everything, and we crown a champion at the end of every champion, and it's settled on. When you do segregate like that, you end up with who's better. I mean, you can go back to the early days of the AFL and NFL where who was better, and that's when the Super Bowl. But I wouldn't like to see that. I like that we do, and I think that that's, again, for me. I don't it expanded, but I wouldn't be opposed to it expanding. Mainly because I feel like as an SEC, go to 8 teams, we might represent 4 of them. Like, you get down to it, and we got, and 2 other SEC teams with loses in the SEC championship. Put all 4 of them in there: LSU, Florida, Georgia, Auburn every now and then when they have a good year. You look at that and you say, okay, they legitimately could beat anybody else in any other conference. So if we go to 8, all right, fine, put 4 SEC teams in there, and then at the end you'll have the 4-on-4.
We said that at the beginning of last year, with it being a SEC only schedule. We're like, people have complained in the past about there being 2 SEC teams in there. I said, last year there could have been more, and quite frankly, there should have been. The other conferences bending their own rules to get Ohio State in, even though they didn't even make, they didn't even meet the criteria to go to their championship game.
Sounds like coach is getting paid under the table by Kirby Smart at Georgia. That's on make it to the playoffs and save his job. You know what I'm saying? Expand to 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't. If you go to 8, because you're already like really spring at that point. I don't know. I mean, with the school,
you start cut off some of the cupcake games. Just go straight to conference play.
So I disagree with that. But the one area I hesitate on that is I love that Alabama are playing Miami or who else have they played?
Yeah, the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. Whoever.
Yeah. Going outside of your conference, I love seeing that. I love. I'm so hesitant to hold it against a team that loses in that game because you're still learning, and in the beginning of the year. And if you have one loss and you lost to Alabama in the first game of the season, I mean, that's a half a loss in my opinion. It's not the same as you losing one of your conference games to some nobody. Yeah. So
just speaking from experience here. Hey, you just gotta call it like you see it, Bird. You know what I'm saying?
As long as we don't open up the Thursday night special, or Friday night, whatever it is. I guess it's Thursday night, isn't it? Yeah. Thursday night special to Bowling Green.
I mean, you gotta watch out. We're in the MAC. I mean, they're used to those crazy start times.
And I also think that with this whole nil situation, and I know what it's causing is, as you can see with Texas joining the SEC, we're going to see some the alignments of the conferences. And if we're able to break it down into 4 major conferences and get it away from 5, I have a problem with saying champion of each conference and then the next best 6. You can't complain in any conference that you're not represented. And so what if you show up with 3 losses? You're going to get blown out and at least we've given the other 7 best teams in the nation a chance. And again, if you go back and look at the end of the year and look at the 6th best team, are they a national championship contender? Most of the time, no. Go that route, fine. We'll let them get blown out. I mean, in the NFL, right? I'm a Cowboy about it. There's certain years there should be no team represented. But the best part about that situation is it presents hope for all of the teams in the NFL, right? Every year, I don't have to worry about competing with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? And the Cowboys can beat the Eagles because they're just as crappy. And if we get in, as the Giants did that, 2 years when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, 2 times they come in and they have no business being in the Super Bowl, but they settled it on the field. So if you can win those games, that you were worthy of being there.
Yeah. Well, that I think that does move us over into the next one because you started right into it, so we can go ahead and bring up the next discussion. Oh, did we get Tito back in?
We've been getting Tito in and out all day.
Tito's popping in and out. Tito, sorry, brother.
Beam me up,
sorry.
Scotty.
I'm so sorry about that. So we'll roll into the next discussion. It's a big one. Assuming that it'll play my transition piece there, and it doesn't look like it's going to. Paying college football players. Okay, the pros and cons. We got to go over the pros and cons of this. And I'm going to bring up a couple of issues that we first is if you're paying college athletes an insane amount of money straight out of the gate instead of NFL. Okay, if you're a player and you're making tons of money in college, and when I say what happens to the NFL, I'm more talking of inflation. They're going to have to raise salary caps because now you have whatever, all these amount of players that were all the best of the best in college, all expecting higher than what they were making in college. And so now salary caps have to be raised, and then to pay all this out, ticket prices get raised, jersey prices gets raised, concessions gets raised, everything, this amount of inflation goes up for the NFL. What do y'all think about that point before we move on to the next?
I don't think it's any different than any other business. If you're going to pay your employees too much money and you have to raise prices, eventually you're going to raise them to the point where people aren't going to buy them. And I mean, that's going to happen in any business. So competition isn't a bad thing. I think that one of the things that I call it the NCAA, but college football in general, has such a good relationship with the NFL is because at any point, if the NFL really needed to with them, they would have a minor leagues, right? Do that. They allow the NCAA to them. They allow them to own that market, and it's great. You get these players, you get them on a national. They get to build a brand. They get to that may not like a certain team but love a certain player. I mean, I can look at in Tennessee, right? Love Peyton Manning, right? Goes to everybody loves him. There's nobody in Tennessee that loves, right?
No.
We don't
Peyton
root
Manning in the NFL.
Right? But again, you as a like I love Peyton Manning. He's hilarious. He's funny. He's giving. He's everything I would want in a starting quarterback. He goes to, but I'm going to watch. I'm going to root against him. It does give them that launch pad. Players, I think that there's a big difference between the school and allowing the players to go out and make money on their own. Massive.
Yep.
Not only that, but the schools breaking their own rules as far as like allowing players to stay too long without reason. I think that's when the NFL would kind of step in a little bit and say, hey, if you're going to start poaching them earlier, and that's what the NCAA doesn't want, right? Because right now the NFL's got a hard rule of 3 years. Well, if the NCAA is going to start holding on to these players longer, say, well, we're going to start infringing on that. We're going to start poaching these players that you're, holding on to, we're going to start
We'll
giving
do
our
like basketball and get some one and dones.
right, and the NCAA doesn't want that. So I have a good relationship with each other because what the NCAA is they do have that churn, they do have that turnover, and the NFL's got that long game play where they make sure that they're playing at the elite level, keep the best players the best of the best. I don't really view that relationship changing anytime soon because it's going to be detrimental to both if that were to happen. And both groups, I feel like, are well run enough to recognize that, and neither of them want to hurt their own pockets, and that's what that would be.
Correct. So, Bradley,
Yeah.
any part to add to that? Will we see a big comeback of arena football as as a kind of minor league?
Or the
Will we
European Football
see?
League.
The what?
The European Football League they had in the early 2000s, like where they had like the London or whoever they played. But no, I mean, I personally think that what's the new whatever the program or rule that they allow in the NCAA this year is the first time that the NCAA's got something right in a long time. It's completely different than the University of Tennessee paying, you know, Jerry starting quarterback than it was Joe Blow who was on the swimming team because obviously Garantano brings more money into the university, so he's worth more to them, so he gets paid more. To keep it fair, the university just put it on paper and doesn't pay anyone, right? It's up to the player to market themselves, to go to the companies like Nike or Adidas, Under Armour, all these deals with to get them on board and getting paid. It's like the university's hands off. They have nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter to them if the one guy that plays on the water polo team gets paid the highest paid athlete player at the school. It gets itself better than just the random free safety. So that's one of the greatest. I mean, not one of the greatest. But one of the best things NCAA's done in a while is said you go get your money. The schools still don't pay. It makes everything fair because football players bring in more money than any other sport in the SEC anyway, except for maybe Kentucky. So it makes it fair that way.
Look at the players thinking what is fair. So you're taking kids who are 18 years old and sticking them on there. So what happens if your amazing running back or your amazing quarterback gets these big deals, and you have and they're huge deals, and your left tackle is not compensated as well. He didn't go out and get the endorsements, and he says, I'm just not going to block for these guys. Now, granted, that's only going to happen once or twice on a field before the coach sits his butt down, but it only takes once.
Yeah, but I would say that type of player needs to be vetted before they get there, because there are in everywhere, right? I can't look and back's dad gets paid more than my dad and is able to give him, a Mercedes to drive to school, and I don't have that, so I'm just not. Like, what's the difference? I feel like I don't
bring that up again.
I don't feel like that's going to be a problem at all. I feel like if you're wanting more, go get, and I think
it's on you. It's on you.
It's on you. And one of the things you said, Brad, was that you have to market yourself a little better. And you had also mentioned that the NCAA is doing this right. The NCAA is not doing this. They are being forced to do this. And the court's saying that they're not going to back them anymore in rule enforcement of not allowing these players to make the school. That's what's happening. And the NCAA really, this is one of the reasons that the SEC is because that's where the money's going to be. They're going to sell. The NCAA is not going to be regulating this for very much longer. A very loose set of rules in place that everyone's going to have to follow, but it's not going to. I don't think it's going to happen. And I think what's going to end up happening, as you said, these kids are going to have to start self-promoting 18-year-old kids don't know how to do that. So what do? You hire an agent, right? And that those agents, I'm all for agent. What they're doing. I
Don't know how
mean,
to manage
they
some money.
need someone. "Hey, I'm going to act on your behalf, and you're going to pay me a portion of that, and therefore I'm vested in your success. So the more successful you are, the more successful I am." Some of these guys are sharks, but that's the same in every single. You go to a car salesman, and there's some low lives, and that's just part of life. Know how you're going to be able to avoid that. But allowing these players to finally make money outside. I mean, I know I talked to Brandon a little bit before this practice. You know, the band kid, he gets a scholarship. He gets to go there. He gets to play the drums. But then he's also allowed to be in his own band and make money on the side, go into whatever gig he gets. Right? There is no that gets to do that. He can't go outside of any additional money anywhere, or he's off the team. Like the completely different set of rules for a standard student versus a college student, or any sports for that matter. But it's football because for the most part, football and where the money is, and that's where they can actually make money. Go back and look at what Tim Tebow could have made had Gatorade been able to sponsor him. I mean, we limited his amount of earning potential for no reason.
And Reggie Bush.
I agree. I agree. I mean, yeah, that's a different issue, but like, what is the problem with that? If company A wants person B to be their representative and they X amount of dollars, this is America. They should be allowed to do it. There should be no one saying you can't do that or on their future because of that agreement. What has happened in the past, and that's what the courts have finally told the NCAA more. Yeah. And kids, I mean, I know the quarterback at Alabama is making over $1 million and has never played a snap. Alabama's not paying him that.
Nope.
Other team.
Good for him.
Good for him. It's some other saying, "Hey, I can get him now, and if I sign him to $1 million contract now, in 2 years, his face is going to be the Tua all over the place, and my investment's going to tenfold." Well, this is new, so every out period, you're going to get some of these guys that are going to strike gold, and some that are going to blow that $1 million, and the kid's going to be a bust. And they're going to
just like the draft.
Just like that. So what they're going to do is they're correct agents to talk to in place to say, hey, this guy has the marketability and this guy doesn't. And it's not going to be driven so much on the booster side as going to be what can benefit them. I mean, if the kid can and he's not good for your brand, you're just not going to. Again, I go back to the Tim Tebow. He was marketable in Florida. He was everything you want your college quarterback to be, right? He was a leader. He did everything right. But then at the same time, on the same team, you had Cam Newton, who was also getting busted for stealing a laptop and things like that. Well, there's nobody who's going to put Cam Newton on their, as the face of their company if that's the take. Now, obviously, he turned it around. There's going to be some mistakes made, and there's going to be some people back out of it altogether because of bad deals. But again,
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, welcome to America. Like, that's what happens.
Tito, I don't know if you are. Looks like he may have just been gone again. Just as I was fixing to lean on him here.
It's hard to catch. You never know when he's going to pop up again.
Tito's in and out. It doesn't look like we're going to catch him. Unfortunately.
That's okay. It's hard to argue with right. I understand.
Oh, right as he... Oh, there he is. Hello. Tito, thoughts on Thoughts on endorsements for college players?
I think time coming, to be honest with you. They've been wanting to completely understand everything all of you guys say. What is might see a big shift, not necessarily from the SEC dominate a a guy out in Southern and San Francisco, UCLA Denver, $1 billion.
Today, Junior. I love it. We gotta keep it going.
I think we might have lost someone this one.
No, he's still going. Oh, he's
Yep,
gone.
now
nope,
he's gone.
nope.
There he goes.
I assume what
So-
he was talking about was bringing in some guy or firm outside of the SEC that's going to just, well, we're going to pay out the nose for 5-star recruits to come play at UCLA. Okay.
It's been happening for years.
Yeah,
it's been happening for years.
It's finally legal now. Yeah.
Once again, America, where the biggest companies will get the best talent. You think Google's not paying the most for the best talent? Absolutely, they are. Doesn't matter if it's a 16-year-old kid or a woman who just started working in tech and knows what she's doing. It absolutely doesn't matter. The best for the best talent. Want to do that? If Nike wants to start sponsoring some kids to go play at Oregon, fine, let them do it. Gatorade wants to sponsor kids at Florida, let them do it. Again, they're going to miss and they're going to hit, but why are the ability to make that money when they can? Is anyone to tell someone else they can or can't make money? That's just ludicrous.
Nope, I agree. It comes back to the life's not always fair thing. If people, if they have the opportunity to make money, great for them. Sorry, guy, that you weren't good enough to make that money. It's just the way it works.
Yep. And you know what? If we're going back to that quarterback, if he wants to say, hey, I will absolutely be the face of your group. My offensive linemen are taken care of too. Can we get them? Maybe not as big as mine, and that's fine. I just winning in the NFL. Who's the most winning quarterback ever? Tom Brady. Why? He has not ever in his career been the highest paid quarterback. Every year he takes less money. Why? Because I'll take $10 million less, but you better make sure you pay my left tackle.
Yep.
The additional running back. And what happened when New England stopped doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Talent deprivation that was there. He said, I'm not doing this anymore. He left. Someone else is around him with talent, and once again, he could have gone other places and made more money, but he didn't. And so you're going to get some kids that are willing to do that, and some kids that money all the way around, depending on where you go, to happen. It's America.
That's true.
It's a fantastic marketing scheme too. Like, say you got a quarterback named Alex, and you get all the linemen signed to the same contract as the Guardians of Alex. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Bam.
Yeah,
Marketing. I mean,
yeah. But that's where you get like good people wanting to get contracts, wanting to make money. You get good agents trying to help out. You get, again, the cream of the crop is going to show, right? I mean, and one of the arguments I heard before was, well, it's going to make a discrepancy between have big money boosters and the teams that don't. I'm like, oh, is that not happening? I mean, is Alabama not at the top of the food chain every year? Is Ohio State not way up there? Yeah. Why? Because they have the most money. Because they're putting in the right people in the right positions and they're bringing them in, churning them out. When Alabama can tell any recruit, hey, come sit on the bench for 2 years. And then 1 year after that, you're going to be a first round draft. Look at the litany of guys that we've done that with.
Can you imagine the quarterly report had Kellogg Rice Krispies put in to Ryan Leaf and and watch him go belly up?
You look at that though, but
This
Ryan
just
Leaf-
in, Crackle files bankruptcy. Had to get a large loan from Pop.
Snap is still in the game.
Snap, Crackle, Ryan, and Pop.
But going to that, like speaking to making mistakes, I remember reading an article a while ago about Nike's pursuit of Steph Curry for his second contract, and when they went in, they didn't call him Steph; they called him like they in the slides there were Kevin Durant's information on there because they had used these slides previously. It was just a hodgepodge, right? And he walked away.
Oh,
Guy. He had signed his first contract out of college with Nike. He wanted to stay Nike. Well, Under Armour, they wanted to target him. So what did they do? He got a teammate that was on his team that rode the bench, and they sponsored him, and they sent him all kinds of goodies. They king, right? And they were just like, hey man, just tell your teammates about us, right? And so he's constantly doing this. Well, all of a sudden he's seeing what Under Armour's giving him, teammate who's a bench player, and he's seeing how Nike's treating him, who he feels like he's a superstar and is. No, I'm not going to sign with you. I don't care if you are going to give me more money. I'm going to go where I'm wanted and where I'm appreciated. And I think that that's what's going to happen in college. We're going to get the guys who come in and like, hey, I'm treated with respect, and are going to be willing to pay that, and some aren't. And you're going to, but to the kid to be able to be worthy of that. You go in the first year and they're going to cut you.
can you imagine how much money legally the Haslam family will put out now? Because they've been writing them checks for years underneath the table.
Now they do it. We want your cutout in every pilot across the United States of America.
And Flying J.
Yes. Oh, I forgot Flying J. That's correct.
Not
So,
spot-
as we are rolling into our 30-minute kind of hard deadline on these shows, we want to end it up on a funny note. We had a very serious episode this go around, which was a little change of pace. We normally have our comedian Brad, tearing us up. And Pals must be sitting on his stomach a little hard.
No, I mean that's that in Food City. Being in Middle Tennessee now, it's hard to find a good Pals or a Food City. I mean, hell, I'm an hour and a half driving for Food City. I'm East Tennessee through and through.
As much as I hate early on predictions, I just want to hear an East and a West prediction. And we'll start with our guest.
I mean,
Michael, what you think? Coming out of the East.
I don't. I would have to. but yeah, man, they just let you down. You know, it's
I love it. I love to hear it.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with Florida just because I've fallen off of that branch too much, and I mean Alabama. There's just really no other.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the thing is that one year when Burrow was at LSU, I loved it. I mean, they did
He was
everything
amazing.
they wanted an SEC team to do, and long for Alabama to be like, maybe just a little bit, and then the next year happened. But they had a down year last year. That's not typical. Really, really hit them as a whole. And I'm not saying that were caught it, but I think that the whole culture was affected by it much more so. It seemed like at LSU than really anywhere else I saw. I wouldn't count them out just yet. They're blazing hot. Put anything past them just yet, but I'd.
Day gumbo is not cooked from Mr. Ed Ogeron here.
My mama said.
Brad, what about your pick on that? Who's got the East? Who's got the West?
I think it's just so one-sided on both sides this year. I mean, I don't see any other team putting up a fight against Alabama for sure. I mean, obviously Georgia, Florida, when they play the largest cocktail party in the world game, is going to be probably the game for the East. I mean, that's going to who's going to win the East. I think Missouri might shock some people. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but I think they're going to play better than they have been.
So Eli Drinkowitz and company are gonna.
Yeah, whatever his name is. I mean, I think they'll shock some people, but you have to go Florida, Alabama. But I think this year that Kirby Smart gets canned. And
I do too. Depending on the outcome of his season, I do too.
I don't think it's out of the question that Ed Orgeron gets canned as well.
I don't know. I think they'll hold on to him.
Too soon.
I think they'll give him another year. If he has another year there's going to be major pressure. But the fact that you in a Nick Saban dominated conference blow up everybody the way he did that one year with Burrow, it shows what he can do with the right talent. And I think that, again, last year was just such an abnormal year for everyone. Even if he here, I don't think they can him. He has 2, he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think
Second in the West this year. Ole Miss finishes second in the West. There's another prediction.
Ooh.
There's another prediction.
no.
Ooh.
If it's not LSU,
I don't know. Their roller coaster is
They
just.
Well, it's like
the way I look at
yes, I don't even think about
it, they just I didn't like Munn. How do you
No.
say that? I've never. He was
Callan Mond or whatever his name was.
yeah. He
Yeah.
He played there for
He
13 years.
he did nothing to spark anything. Like, it was mediocrity all the way through. I think he was drafted in like the 4th round this year. I mean, and I can't believe it. Like, he's got all the physical ability. Before I watched Dak Prescott and I thought, what are we doing drafting this guy? And from the day he became the starter, every time I saw him on a news conference, on a press conference, exactly what I want my starting quarterback to say. Every time he took ownership when things went wrong. He addressed when there was opportunity for growth. I mean, just he professional from the time he got there. Maybe will show me something, but I have not seen it. And I don't know who their starting quarterback's going to be, but they get somebody who has some ability. And let's be honest, in Texas, man, who knows what they're pulling out of Texas. So we'll see.
Well, we know what Tito would have said.
Florida.
Florida and Alabama. That would have been easy. Say what our producer there, Mr. Nico. I know that American football is not.
He's a fan of the communist
well-
kickball.
Whoa, 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 whoa! You gotta be easy with that. I would have to say, I would say Georgia over Florida
Ooh.
taking the East, and then Alabama. No, I mean, no one's gonna beat Alabama. I don't think so.
Georgia is going
Except
to
for maybe Clemson.
It's gonna depend a lot on their quarterback and who they have replaced at running back. So
Have they
there's
named a
just
starter?
did they name a starter last year?
Oh, no.
No, they didn't name one
They-
last
they-
year.
Was it Sonny
It-
Gray? Is he still running?
It looked it looked
ball?
it looked a little bit like Tennessee. It was the carousel of quarterbacks. I mean, it maybe not as bad.
Tennessee
but
hadn't had a quarterback since Casey Clausen.
They've been on a carousel for quite a while.
Maybe Eric Ainge. Maybe.
No, they had Dobbs.
Dobbs, he
yeah.
wasn't. He was. Yeah. He
I
was not
mean,
that guy.
Dobbs shocked me from the first time I saw him go onto the field to when he left the field. You know, and I'm sitting here saying y'all call him a dual threat quarterback, and you're saying the guy coming up behind him now is even better, which you know is Brad's favorite character in Jerry Garantano.
No, I mean I do like him more than I do Bo Nix.
Bum Nix. Bum Nix.
Bo Picks.
Bum necks, yeah.
Bo Picks.
Dobbs was
Supposed
always
to be
the
prodigy
frustrating-
legend.
Yeah, Dobbs.
I'm
always
gonna have to
frustrated me.
agree. I'm gonna have to agree with the Florida and of course Alabama. If we were to be having the same conversation in 2025 and it Oklahoma in the East and Texas in the West,
How do you
Oklahoma
put
may,
Oklahoma in the East? You don't. You break it up into 4 teams per bubble. Is what the bubble.
well,
No,
when
get-
we get
get bubbles
when
outta
we
here.
get to those bubbles, we'll have to reevaluate. But let's just say they just divide them equally for right now.
Oklahoma can't run the gauntlet. That's just the bottom line.
See,
They can't
run
there's
the
one-
gauntlet.
And
I would say-
neither of those teams know how to play that. So until they learn there's 2 sides of the football, happen.
That's true.
Wouldn't
And
Oklahoma
Tennessee's
be
going to
in the
find that
West?
this year. They're going to have an amazing, powerful offense and still lose by put up 51 and still lose by 21.
Tennessee didn't know what a football was since 2001. They didn't know there was 2 sides. They didn't even know one existed since 2001.
When did Peyton Manning leave?
1997.
98.
What you talking about, Will?
He was gone. He was not there in the 98 season.
True. But his last year was 1997.
He was entered in the 98 draft. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I go by there.
Lord and Savior T. Martin came along. The first ever dual quarterback in the SEC.
You have amazing stats. What do you not have?
Touchdowns.
A ring.
Oh, rings.
Ring.
Yeah.
And he never beat Florida either, if we're being honest. I saw him play Florida in the rain.
Quick pop quiz, just to leave off. We're gonna go way off topic right here and have a pop quiz for Brad.
Uh-oh.
Who is leading the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series?
We talking regular season points or we talking wins?
Points.
Well, it's tied right now with Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin.
Bah.
Who?
Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr.
It ain't tied. I watched the race today, son.
In the Cup Series?
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin's
No, it's
14th.
tied.
That's
Wow.
because they're
Based on
adding the
wins.
points in from the wins. That's why I was asking if we're at points or wins. Because if you add the
Then add the points in from the wins.
then it's Kyle Larson, and then it's Martin Truex Jr. Then it's Alex Bowman.
Are you looking at a screen right now?
Bible. I'm not looking at the screen.
Those are pretty
Mhm.
close, though.
It's rough seeing Harvick down there at 15th,
Now he drives a Ford,
first on race day.
fixed or repaired daily. I'm a Chevy man.
Oh, I love those commercials. Like a
Overheating
rock
something.
on the side of the road.
Yeah. Can't dodge it, ram it. You know what I mean?
Oh, listeners, I want to thank you for tuning in to the second episode of the second season. Quite a serious episode today. We want to thank our special guest, Mr. Michael Camp. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. This was a blast.
It's always fun, and it seems to step up and get a lot more fun as the season gets going. Right now, we just get to talk about random crap until the season does go. Nico, thank you for keeping us going in the back end. Bradley, as always.
I'll be here every weekend.
We're always here for the comedic relief. And Tito, always here for the 85% of connectivity. And
77.
except you're looking at the screen. For how much he's got. 77% upload for him. So this will be a while before
It's
he's going
like
to have to log.
Tito, 75% of the time it works every time. I'm quoting.
Anchorman.
Sex Panther.
When it comes to movie trivia, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'll have to come out for trivia night if that's one of the themes.
Have I told you all what my trivia team name was? We
You have, but
every
I've forgotten.
It's Quiz to my
Quiz to my pants.
Yeah, we play every Thursday night. La Hacienda, Franklin, Tennessee. Hit me up. We'll be there.
and bring him some cheddar rounds if you're coming from East Tennessee.
Yep, that and a Dr. Enough.
What?
You don't look Dr. Enough?
No.
Yeah, you've never look it up. Bottled in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Doctor Enough.
Yeah, ENUF. It's probably considered the first energy drink ever. It's bottled in like 1952. Google it. Dr. Enough. ENUF.
Doctor. I mean, I've heard of.
Porn star showing up if I Google Doctor Enough. I'm gonna go ahead. And
I
Is it
promise.
child safe? Is it PG-13?
Yes,
You gotta-
absolutely.
you gotta
It is bottled in the same location as Cheerwine. If y'all know what Cheerwine is.
I do know what Cheerwine is.
Ah, Johnson City Bottling Company. It's
You
right
can
behind
find that
the
at
Johnson-
every RC vending machine outside your local Walmart.
What, Cheerwine?
Cookout.
You can get that on draft at Cookout.
Look out,
Yeah, cookout.
Yeah, Google Dr. Enough. It's by far.
Dr. Enough. That's like Mr. Pibb. You know, the replica of Dr. Pepper that is not
Walmart
really a
does.
replica because he didn't get his degree.
That's
Hold
right.
on. Let me do it. Let me,
Didn't have
since
all
y'all
20
afraid to
things.
do it.
Had to hit with the Mitch Hedberg one line right there.
Dr. Enough is a brand of by Tri-Cities Beverage in Johnson City, Tennessee. It's a lemon lime flavored drink. It is well, hold on. I'm on the Wikipedia here. Where'd it go?
Lemon
Started
lime.
back in 1949.
Yeah, how is it like? So it's a Sprite imitation.
It's I think this came before Sprite. Fine, sir.
With Dr. Enough.
1949.
Homemade Sprite. It's lemon and lime. Want some
with
more
a
homemade
little-
Sprite?
With a hint of vanilla and a
Oh,
whole lot of happiness inside of it.
Okay, Elf.
this was not sponsored by Dr. Enough.
Hit me up though.
But hit him up, bring him in a cool.
I mean, you
little-
send me free cases and I'll drop your name on every single episode. That's all you gotta do. Send me some free cases. I mean, I bought cases in my lifetime. I like Diet a little better than I do original, but that's just got Splenda.
Ain't nothing like some aspartame.
It's got Splenda in it, bro. Does it got aspartame in it? I don't know.
Yes,
Yes.
Something's gonna kill you.
nothing
Well-
like tiny little holes in your brains.
Something's gonna kill you. Might as well enjoy it.
Oh God. Bless. Thank you again, listeners. We'll catch you next week, season 2, episode 3. And I have no idea what we're going to talk about yet. We will put that out on the social media. Follow us. All of them are at SEC Fan Talk, whether you're a YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all the others,
FDIC
Instagram.
approved. You know,
Roll the dice, whichever one you use. Our name's easy at SEC Fan Talk. Thank you, listeners. Have a good one.
it just means
ahead,
more.
Brad.
It just means more. That's why I was faking you out.